Hi guys, this is Stan. Welcome back to my channel. It is the start of October, so I think it is the best time to check about all the amazing fantasy books I read in September. September was a fantasy-packed reading month. I have read a total of 4 fantasy books, and this video will only focus on this genre. To start with, let's chat about my reading statistics in this month. I have read 4 fantasy books in total. I know it is not like a massive number, but in terms of the page count, I have read 2,127. To be fair, I don't think it is a terrible number because it implies that I mostly read chunky fantasy books in September. The average rating of this month is only 3.5 stars. I'm not sure will this rating change because I still haven't finished the last book on my September TBR. I'm still halfway through it. Sorry guys. Compared to August, I did actually read more. Although in August I finished 5 books, in terms of the page count, it is actually 100 pages more in September, which means that I can actually keep up with my reading pace. But if we are looking at the average rating, September is slightly worse by 0.1 stars, which I don't think is a big deal. It is not a massive difference. So now we can dive in all the fantasy books I finished in September according to the time I finished them. First of all, I have a brilliant news. I have completed the Parliament trilogy, which means that I have finished the last book, The Autumn Republic by Brian McClellan. This book takes place right after the second book, and we're gonna see how our good old characters go through all the difficulties they are facing. After this, the plot will go into 3 different storylines. Thomas, the coup leader overthrowing the last monarchy, who is also a parliament. Alongside with him, we got Paul and Nina, who are the privileged that can wield elements, gonna chase the cats, the nation that has been causing trouble since the first book. Thomas' son Tanya will be on a rescue mission. Retired police inspector Adamet will help finding out who tried to sabotage one of the first minister candidates. By nearly the end of this book, the election day will finally come in autumn, and all our characters has to settle all the problems they have. I still like the battle and action scenes in this book. There will be the use of conventional elemental magic, and there will be also the use of gunpowder and tactical formation in a battlefield. The ending of this whole trilogy is not perfect, but I am happy with how these characters gonna settle down after this conflict. I think this is a book for the coup leader, Thomas. After following him for like 2 books, there are some moments for him to rectify his mistakes, make up with what he has not done enough, let's say with his brother or with his son. But I don't think this book is like the best of this whole trilogy. First of all, I think we are a bit rushed to the final confrontation. I wish there would be more reunion moments for one last time to see how all these characters feel for each other. And I think right before the election day is the perfect timing. There was not much happening around that time. And then I used to enjoy the investigation by Adamet in the last 2 books. He would try his best to find every clue possible and try to piece out the answer. But coming to this one, I think the whole investigation is a bit on the convenient side. Every chapter would end with a name, and then in the next chapter, Adamet would chase down this clue. But you know what? That chapter would end with another name. And then in the next chapter, Adamet would try to chase this new clue. It is like a endless cycle, which I think this whole setup is not that entertaining to my taste. And the biggest disappointment I have is the missing interaction between Tanya and Caro. Their chemistry has been cooking for the last 2 books. How they talk with each other and how considerate they are to each other. The chemistry was great and I was so into it. This is like the best relationship in all these 3 books, and it is really good. But in this book, majority of the time, they are not together, and I am talking about like 80% of the time, which is such a shame because I was so into this relationship. I have heard about this trilogy gonna start really strong and ends up average, and I can see where this statement is coming from. This reminds me a diagram about a horse that is divided into 3 parts. The tail is like very perfect drawing. The torso will be like, fine, and then the head is like drawn by a kid. This series is actually like that. Not saying this like trilogy is terrible, you shouldn't check it out at all, but I just wish the last book could be as strong as the first one. I know that there will be another trilogy that is set in the same world but takes place 10 years later. I am still interested in it, but I don't think I need to urgently finish it, so that series will be on my TBR. You watched this far already, don't forget to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe to my channel Dantasy so you won't miss any new video from me. Why not also share how many books you have finished in September in the comment below. Maybe you can also talk about which one is your favorite or maybe which one is your least favorite. After completing a fantasy series, I also started a new one, and it is The Grace of King by Ken Liu, the first book of the Dandelion Dynasty. This is a Chinese-inspired fantasy that is based on the Qin Dynasty, which is around 200 BC. By the way, I read this one on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy with me, so I guess I will pop a photo of it here. With the fall of the old emperor, the one that holds all the states and keep the peace in Dora, individuals with ambitions gonna make the world know their names. Some may wanna sit on the throne, some may be driven by revenge, or some may just wanna protect their home. But mainly we will focus on two characters, Kuni and Mata. Kuni is a bandit but with a kind heart. Mata comes from a noble warrior family. And we will witness this pair of good friends rise to power. Overall, I did have a good time reading this one, but I think for those of you that have finished the series, you will agree that the series would definitely get better and better. My comment about this book can be summarized in just one word: dry. The first 40% of the book we kept introduced to new characters. What I mean by introduced to new characters is like reading a bibliography of every single one of them. Other than them, there would be like history and myths about the gods. So there are quite a lot of details and quite a lot with the world building. But things do get better when we are more familiar with this cast of characters. Let's say there are epic battles with different tactics. You can mobilize your whole army and simply defeat your enemy, but also you can win a war without force, let's say by psychological tricks or persuasion. Through all of this, we can see what sort of person Kuni is. The one that is so kind, so generous, and so sincere. Mata is always this warrior who respects traditional value of honor and glory. The ending did break my heart because there are quite a lot of emotional moments, and we have been following this cast of characters since the beginning. The main characters are great, but I also enjoy the storyline of the side characters. For example, there would be a pair of brothers who follow Kuni and Mata since the start of the campaign. How they are before and then they depart and how this relationship ends. I mean, another heartbreaking moment. I also didn't expect there would be quite full-on explanation of science and technology. There are certain reimagination of modern technology in this fantasy world, which did shock me when I read it because it was so surreal and detailed. Overall, I would say this is a good book, but I won't say it is a masterpiece yet. I'll keep on reading this series and let's see will my opinion change once I finish the whole series. Speaking of continuing a series, I have completed the second book of the Greenbone saga, which is Jade War by Fonda Lee. This is also another Asian-inspired fantasy. This book takes place a year after the first book and we are still following the core family and their jade business. Jade in this world can give you superhuman ability, let's say strength, steel, deflection, if you are given the right training. And this power is inborn unless you take certain drug to overcome it. We are still following the good old POVs from the first book. This time, Aiden was sent to as pioneer to study abroad. The rest of the family would take care of this jade business. Internally, they have to deal with the Mountain Clan, their rival. Their leader, Ayat, I believe is how you say it, is a fierce leader who will use whatever methods she can to reach her own goal. Externally, the plot has expanded. There are some national conflicts overseas and Jade was seen as a powerful, valuable asset to win the war. So the No Peak clan, which is like the clan the core family is leading, has to bargain with some foreign powers. This book is very political and full of actions. I still enjoy the concept of family business. Nearly all the POVs in this book are coming from this family, so it is fun to see how they're gonna tackle some problems. Maybe this problem is too sensitive for one of them and some family members has to do something behind his or her back. But still they are from the same family. They all want the clan and people rely on them to thrive. So sometimes there will be some misunderstandings between the family members and it is upsetting to see. It is also quite challenging for this family to work out all their plans. They have to find allies locally or overseas. They need to stop certain laws to pass and stop the mountain clan, but it looks like the rival always get a step in front of them. Other than that, there are some romance in this book and I think this element is much stronger compared to the first book. No spoiler here, but I can tell every single pair got a lot to go through. And I think the star of this book is probably Shay. There are a lot of difficult moments for her and I felt every single one of them. The surgery, if you know what I'm talking about, and then the clean blade duel, which is like a combat that can cost her life. The end of her romantic encounter with what happened later. Also with the position now she's holding and how much she has grown. There are definitely moments she can't agree with Hilo and she had to make some difficult decisions. I mean, she literally goes through a lot in this book and I mean, why you need to do this to her? Another character I felt a lot is Andon. In this book, he was sent away to study abroad but still discover a jade community overseas. From someone decided not to wear jade anymore thinking he was in exile, then try to get used to this new environment and involuntarily get into the clan business once again. The way they deal with the clan business overseas is so different from what Andon has known since he's young. At last, he has to again be like the key player in this bigger scheme, and I think the most tragic part is how the romantic encounter ends. Andon can't do anything about this because he is always a member of the core family, and for his romantic encounter, Corey, he also got his own family pressure and the burden. So it is really sad to see how this young couple, don't give out too much. And I forgot Hilo's wife, Wen. She is a stone eye in this story, which means that she can't process the power of Jade at all. But she is married to Hilo, an important figure in the No Peak clan. At first, she might be a bit shy to talk about her own opinions in the family. Part of it is because she is a stone eye and Hilo draw a very clear line between the jade business and the family. And I guess the other reason is there are only, including her, 2 females that can talk in this kind of business. But in the story, she didn't limit herself because of it. She is always the one willing to take risks. She is always the one do whatever she can to help with the clan, to help with the family. She really cares about the family, even though other members maybe feel a bit down, feel a bit lost. She is always the one cheering up for them. But I was shocked about how her storyline ended, I'm not gonna lie. It was like roller coaster. Overall, I do find this one very immersive. You will literally care so much about the survival of this core family. And I didn't find the same problem I had in the first book, which is the slow start. So I think at this moment, this is the best book in this whole trilogy. Finally, it comes to the last book of this wrap-up. To be honest, by the time of filming it, I am still working on it because it is still September. And it is The Palace of Eros by Caro De Roberts. I got this run from Ghostwriter GSFF in August. I am actually doing a Ghostwriter review and that video would mainly feature this book. So if you want to find out my final thoughts about this book or Ghostwriter GSFF this subscription as a whole, you may want to check that video later in this week. I think I will upload it on Saturday, so stay tuned to it. By the title of this book, you may already know this one is inspired by the Greek myth of Eros, aka Cupid, and his love story with a mortal woman called Psyche. The setup of this book is kind of similar because Eros in this book would be in a form of female, meaning that it will be a lesbian relationship. Psyche is a very beautiful woman and always attracts the attention of all the male in the world. This makes Aphrodite jealous, so she asks Eros to take care of this woman. At the same time, the weather is not nice and the crop didn't grow well. People see it as a sign from the gods because this woman upset the gods already, so it is a punishment to them. So her parents seek the advice from the oracle and send her to marry this monstrous husband. But turns out it is all the plan of Eros because she is so attracted to this beautiful woman. I am currently 55% into this book, so this is how much I can tell you. Without a doubt, the writing in this book is very beautiful and lyrical, probably the most beautiful I have read in this year. There are also discussions about how women being perceived in society, what sort of injustice they're gonna face because of the gender. We also see Eros as a gender-fluid character. Again, there will be exploration on this topic, how Eros wanna be her authentic self. I think the discussion on these two topics are fair, and I think more is welcome in books in general. But I do have a couple of problems with it. No, I mean I have problems with the plot, not the discussion about these topics, don't get me wrong. First of all, I find the writing definitely beautiful, but it is not substantial. I don't really read much of this kind of writing, so I don't really know the terminologies. I just find it poetic, but there are not enough content or emotions to support all these lyrical words. And sometimes we are dragging through these beautiful words too much, making the whole progress a bit slow. I did enjoy the chapters about Eros. There are a bit of dramas between the gods and all the discussion I mentioned before. Psyche's chapters are always much longer, but even so, there are not too much happening in one chapter. I just find the pacing of her chapters a bit odd. And also, her chapters after meeting Eros is all about sex and masturbation, and I mean there are quite a lot of it. And this also explains why I find it difficult to connect with these characters. This book is niche in terms of what it wants to explore. Let's say female rights and gender identity. Maybe I'm not the target audience, so I don't find it easy to care about or root for this pair of lovers. I am 55% into this book and I didn't quite enjoy it, and I am thinking to cancel my Ghostbra subscription, unfortunately. So here are all the fantasy books I managed to finish in September. Not much in terms of the number, but I'm quite lucky to check out some great fantasy series. Also, don't be shy, you can also share your September wrap-up down in the comment below. So if you have enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a like. If you don't want to miss any content from me, make sure you have subscribed to my channel. I'll see you all real soon. Goodbye!